Imagine this. You wake up one morning with a strange, quiet discomfort. Nothing is wrong on the surface. Your life is functional, stable. You understand yourself better than you ever have. You've read the books, watched the talks, absorbed the frameworks. You can explain your patterns. You can trace your childhood wounds. You can articulate why people behave the way they do, and why you behave the way you do. And yet, something feels off. Not painful enough to panic, not loud enough to confront. Just a subtle heaviness you can't seem to think your way out of. You tell yourself it's normal. You analyze it. You contextualize it. You even feel a strange pride in how calmly you're observing your own dissatisfaction. But deep down, there's a question you keep avoiding. Why does life feel thinner the more you understand it? At some point, understanding stopped feeling like freedom and started feeling like distance. You're no longer inside your experiences. You're standing slightly outside them, narrating them in your head. You don't just feel sadness, you interpret it. You don't just want something, you immediately question it. You don't fall into moments anymore, you assess them. It's as if life has become a case study, and you are both the subject and the observer. And the irony is brutal. You chased understanding because you wanted to live better, more consciously, more truthfully. But now you're living less, not dramatically worse, just muted, safer, flatter. This is the paradox no one warns you about. Understanding life does not automatically make life richer. In fact, for many people, it does the opposite. Because understanding, when it becomes your primary mode of living, quietly replaces participation. You start mistaking clarity for completion. You believe that if you can explain something, you've already dealt with it. If you can name a pattern, you've transcended it. If you can see through illusions, you're no longer bound by them. But that's not how life works. Insight does not metabolize experience. Awareness does not equal embodiment. And knowing why you feel something does not mean you've actually felt it. Over time, something subtle happens. You begin to preempt life. Before desire fully forms, you interrogate it. Before anger sharpens, you dissolve it into theory. Before joy expands, you restrain it with skepticism. You've learned too well how things end, how people disappoint, how systems fail, how narratives collapse. So you hover just above commitment, just above intensity, just above risk. You tell yourself you're being wise, but wisdom, when used defensively, becomes avoidance. The deeper issue isn't that you understand life. It's that understanding has become a buffer between you and uncertainty. And uncertainty is where life actually happens. There's a quiet seduction in insight. It makes you feel ahead of things, prepared, unfooled. It gives you the illusion of control without demanding vulnerability. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, it trains you to delay living until conditions feel safe, coherent, justified. But life doesn't reward coherence. It rewards engagement. This is why so many intelligent, self-aware people feel stuck in a strange limbo. They aren't lost, but they aren't alive either. They're suspended in explanation. They can tell you exactly why they hesitate, exactly why they don't commit, exactly why they're cautious, reserved, waiting. And all of it makes sense. That's the problem. Understanding becomes a substitute for courage. Instead of asking, "What do I want?" you ask, "Is this rational?" Instead of asking, "Does this matter to me?" you ask, Is this aligned with my values? Instead of asking, what feels alive? You ask, what's the optimal choice? These are not bad questions, but when they dominate, they drain life of immediacy. Because meaning is not optimized, it's chosen. And choice, real choice, always carries risk. At some point, something inside you begins to resist this over-clarity. It doesn't come as a dramatic breakdown. It comes as friction, a quiet rebellion, a sense that no amount of insight is actually moving you forward anymore. You realize that understanding has plateaued. You can keep learning, keep refining your worldview, keep adding nuance, but none of it changes how you feel when you wake up in the morning. That's when the deeper truth starts to emerge. Understanding life is not the same as inhabiting it. And the more you confuse the two, the worse your life quietly becomes. The shift doesn't begin with action. It begins with permission. Permission to feel something without immediately explaining it. Permission to want something without disqualifying it in advance. Permission to let intensity exist without labeling it immature, ego-driven, or dangerous. You don't become reckless here. You become honest. Because intensity is not the enemy. Suppression is. Intensity is energy, and energy, when integrated instead of controlled, becomes direction. The next realization is unsettling. To live fully, you have to accept that you don't know who you'll become. Understanding life stabilizes your identity. It makes you coherent, consistent, predictable, even to yourself. But that stability comes at a cost. Nothing new can pass through you without being filtered, categorized, neutralized. Real living requires identity risk. It means allowing experiences to change you before you understand them. It means choosing paths that can't be fully justified in advance. It means letting moments disrupt your self-concept instead of fitting neatly into it. You don't abandon wisdom here. You lower its authority. Wisdom becomes a compass, not a cage. Then comes the hardest shift of all. Commitment. Not efficiency, not flexibility. Commitment. Understanding trains you to keep exits open, to remain adaptable, to avoid irreversible choices. But nothing meaningful is reversible. Love isn't. Creation isn't. Purpose isn't. Every life that feels alive is built on decisions that close doors. The rebellion is choosing something knowing it will cost you alternatives, not because it's optimal, but because it's alive. This doesn't make you naive. It makes you present, and presence changes everything. You start allowing emotions to complete their arc instead of intercepting them halfway. You let anger sharpen instead of dissolving it into analysis. You let grief deepen instead of reframing it too quickly. You let joy expand without suspicion. You discover something almost shocking. Emotions aren't problems to solve. They're movements to finish. When you let them finish, they don't overwhelm you. They clarify you. And slowly, life regains texture. Moments feel heavier in a good way. Choices feel weightier. Time stops slipping through your fingers. You're no longer waiting to understand life before you live it. You're living first and letting understanding catch up later. This is the paradox insight was trying to protect you from. Life is not meant to be mastered before it is lived. Understanding is retrospective. Living is immediate. You can understand life deeply, or you can live it fully, but not both at the same time. The mistake was never that you learned too much. The mistake was that you stayed there. This is why many of the wisest people eventually return to simplicity, why philosophers circle back to the body, why insight at its end leads not to detachment, but to a kind of earned innocence. Not ignorance, innocence with eyes open, an innocence that knows the risks and moves anyway. The rebellion ends quietly, not with a manifesto, not with a dramatic transformation. It ends the moment you stop waiting for permission, from logic, from society, from your own intellect, to live. When you act not because you're certain, but because you're here. And here is the final truth, the one most people never fully accept. Understanding life doesn't ruin your life. Clinging to understanding does. Life deteriorates when insight replaces courage, when awareness replaces participation, when safety replaces meaning. The moment you loosen that grip, not abandoning insight, but stepping beyond it, life thickens again. Colors return. Time slows. Choice regains weight. You don't become foolish. You become involved. And involvement, messy, uncertain, vulnerable, is where life actually happens.